Welcome to the party. I'm not here right now, but I want you to listen very carefully. So pay attention. Enough talk. It's showtime.
Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve, my co-host is Pete.
Hello.
This episode we are talking about the 1986 film Raw Deal starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
This is correct.
And it was my choice.
It was quite a while ago, but yes, it was your choice.
It was my choice, yes. Thanks for those who are still around. Hello,
yes, thank you.
We're back.
Thank you for sticking with us. We're now in HD.
Yep.
Which is good.
Yep, we can't see it, but we are.
No, we are.
Took us a while.
So this film came out after Terminator, after Conan, after Commando, which was our last episode.
Yep.
And just before Predator and The Running Man. They came out the year later, just to give you the Arnie chronology. That's the word I was looking for. In HD, but unable to speak English.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So this was directed by John Irvin, who directed Hamburger Hill, and also Next of Kin, which we've done on a previous episode.
Yes, indeed. He's done quite a lot of films, actually.
He has. Now, I thought I'd seen this once before, but I'm not sure now if I'd actually seen it before.
Oh, okay.
Not 100% sure. I couldn't quite... There's lots of things that I thought were in this which were actually in Commando, which I realised when watching Commando. And I thought I'd watch this with my nan, famously.
That's right.
But I'd actually watched Commando with my nan.
Right, okay.
Because it was the table leg through the chest in the motel that I remember.
Yes, with Bill Duke. That's Commando.
She went off to make a cup of tea after that. So I either I've seen it and not really remembered it, or I haven't seen it before.
Okay. So for those who haven't seen it, I'll tell the brief synopsis is that Arnie plays a former FBI agent who had to leave the bureau kind of under a cloud, and he's been sent off to a town in the middle of nowhere, America, where he's now the sheriff. And his wife is a miserable drunk because she hates where they have to live compared to New York, and she hates their life.
As a result, she's only allowed one scene.
Yep. And so she hates everything and blames him, which is not completely his fault, but anyway. And he's trying to make the best of it. But then he gets an offer to go back to the bureau if he does a job first for his old boss.
Yes.
Who's called Harry, I believe.
I think you're right.
Harry Shannon, played by Darren McGavin.
There's lots of familiar faces in this, actually. People you just go, oh, did you recognise the guy from Street Hawk?
No.
Are you old enough to remember Street Hawk?
I think I am, but I don't remember him.
Norman, he's the kind of inside man. There's an actor called Joe Regalbuto, and he played Norman Tuttle in Street Hawk, who was like the tech guy. The guy with the computer, not the guy on the bike.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, Darren McGavin, of course, is probably most famous for playing Kolchak the Night Stalker, which is the 70s TV show, it came out before I was born, but that is one of the biggest influences and inspirations that Chris Carter took for the creation of the X-Files. So that was Darren McGavin. He died actually in 2006, so not that long ago.
Ed Lauter's in this, who I recognise from The Mean Machine, the old Burt Reynolds movie. And my friend, he's not my friend, and Robert Davi, who's been in everything, Die Hard, Goonies, License to Kill. Who's
absolutely
a good staple kind of actor. Yeah.
And I spotted him, even though I don't think he was named probably until the credits at the end. Your friend Benny Magnuson was in it.
Oh, Sven
Ollie
Thorson.
Yeah.
I think you've just given us a strongman name there.
I did by accident.
They do look very... If I wouldn't be surprised if he was his son. Yeah. They do look very alike. Okay. But he was. Well, that's good, because that was him slightly leaner, slightly younger. So good. That's in my note. You've just missed out. It's a paragraph of notes from later that I can bin.
Yeah, so we should probably talk about the film. So So you don't think you've probably seen this then?
Either I'd seen it or I'd wiped it from my memory. I'm not sure. It's interesting. I was reading up a little bit about it, and people do say this is the film in Arnie's kind of timeline, because I can't say that word, that gets kind of missed and forgotten. I found it a little bit disjointed, if I'm honest. Because the start it's really weirdly edited at the start, because there's this scene of witnesses getting killed.
Yeah.
And then there's Arnie chasing someone on a motorbike in a Jeep.
With Dukes of Hazzard music playing.
Yeah. Then it goes to the sheriff's station, and then it goes back to his house. And it almost feels like they've just taken random scenes and just put them in a row. And it reminded me a bit like the start of Cobra, because I think the start of Cobra, when we rewatched that, was a little bit like, I don't really know what's going on here.
Yeah.
It just found weird. And I think the biggest thing for me, and this is, again, some of the other kind of reviews of stuff have said this, in lots of ways, it feels like quite a straight kind of undercover cop kind of drama.
Yeah.
But it's Arnie. So there's a certain amount of Arnieism. I mean, this is the early days, so there wasn't as much. So there are still the occasional one-liners.
Oh, yes.
Or ridiculous scenes. But I think that it's almost like he's walked into the set. It's a bit like the end of Blazing Saddles. He's kind of walked into this film from somewhere else.
Well, there's things like he's constantly has a cigar, and at this point, Arnie's reached a certain point in his career where it's like, okay, I remember him always having a cigar in Predator, but he had one in this, and I'm like,
and the Running Man, actually, maybe.
Yeah, and I'm like, hang on, that's just him. We know he loves cigars. He's just said, I know a really great thing for my character. What's that? If you had a cigar, okay, sure, and then it's just his cigars. And he does have a couple of cracking one-liners early on.
He does.
That one scene you mentioned with his wife.
Yeah.
And his great one-liner is, "You should not drink and bake."
Yeah, essentially his wife has made a chocolate cake and written the word shit in it.
Yes.
It's very artistic. It's like a piece of performance art.
Good bit of icing.
And then she throws it at him, and then, yes, you should not drink and bake. Yeah. Which is, I think, good advice.
I think so. Yeah, you could leave the oven on and kill yourself and burn down the house. So, good advice all round, delivered with Arnieisms.
I think at this point as well, I mean, as it gets on, as he goes undercover, the cast gets better.
Yes.
But in the early part of the film, I was just like, ooh, he's the best actor in this at the moment. And this is early Arnie, when he's in the transition from his wooden to kind of charming phase, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. I think the average acting level in the first 15 minutes is quite low. But I think once he takes the case on and he meets back up with Harry, it does click into place a bit more when people like some of the names that we've mentioned that are more established actors start to kind of appear.
I mean, there's the guy, Ed Lauter, who always plays cops and stuff. He's brilliant. He's in everything as well. He died in 2013, actually. But he always plays a cop. He's really convincing, and you believe him. And a couple of scenes when Darren McGavin is as Harry are actually quite emotional, which I wasn't expecting. As you said, they're all playing the film fairly straight, except for Arnie's being Arnie, and it's a bit difficult because it's quite early. But there's the scene where he tells them that his son's dead, and it's got a weird fade. Have you noticed? So they're talking. Are they in the garage marriage counselor? Isn't it?
That's right.
He says the FBI does have some strange meeting places for these sort of places they can meet undercover. And when he tells him about his son, because he knew him, he got a bit upset, and they both got upset. And I believed Harry when he talks about his son. And Arnie's just stood there like a giant lump of oak, as he is, Austrian oak, because he can't really do much. But he sold it. He really sold it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think the weird thing is the slight kind of where it's slightly unbalanced is you've got that, which is kind of, like you say, kind of they draw it out and it's quite meaningful.
Yeah.
But then he goes, yep, I'll do it, fakes his own death, and then it's like, yeah, my wife will think I'm dead. And it's kind of, the stuff with his wife is really, I think, badly handled, because it's one scene where you see that they're not getting on.
It's full of exposition.
And then he fakes his death, you never see her reaction to him being dead at all, or anyone's reaction, in fact, to where he is. And then later he goes, which feels like a scene that might have been maybe shot later and added in. Maybe they test screened it and they went, "Where's the wife?" And he just goes, "I'm thinking about ringing my wife and telling her that I'm alive." And he's like, you better not do that." And then right at the end of the film, there's a 3 months later jump, isn't there, at the finish? And he goes, "Oh yes, I'm back with my wife, and we're really happy." And it's like, well, you haven't seen her. You pretended to be dead for however long.
Yeah.
And then you can't. So yeah, okay.
Everything's fine.
So,
yeah.
He's hiding another cake with shit on it behind his back.
It's on his back. You can't see it. Yes. I had seen this film a few times, but there's some bits I'd forgotten. Like I remember the big action scene at the gravel pit. I remember the shootout at the club. But there's little things I'd forgotten, like when he goes shopping with Monique, and those 3 guys come back. And that's where it goes a bit like comedy again, because they're walking through a shopping mall, and they peer in a window and see him sat there while she tries on dresses. They're all eating like sandwiches or stuff. They come in the shop and they throw their sandwiches in like the water fountain. And I was like, what do you do that for? That's just ridiculous. Why would you do that? Like, put your sandwich down or finish your sandwich. Don't throw it in. Why? And then they go to try and beat him up, and but she joins in. She's like hitting them with mannequins and stuff, isn't she?
Yeah. I read somewhere that I think that the various producers of the film couldn't agree on what kind of film to make, which I think makes sense. But it reminds me a bit of, have you seen On Deadly Ground? Maybe it's not the week to talk about Steven Seagal, now that he's the Russian envoy to the US.
Oh, God.
On Deadly Ground was his directorial debut with Michael Caine in it.
Right, yeah.
And it's an ecological film, but they made that, and then the studio were like, "There's no fights in this film," and he's like, "No, it's a really important." And like, they need to make some fights, so they went back and did fight scenes. But when you watch the film, it kind of, you're like, okay, he's fighting this guy in a bar. It's very odd, very odd. I'm not convinced we'll ever do that one. No. But it feels a little bit like that. They almost gone, do you know what? This needs a bit more humor. This needs a bit more, bigger fights. I mean, the fight scenes that he has are great. He's throwing people like the A-Team. He's literally throwing people up into like the rafters.
Oh yeah,
a few times. And it does make use of his size. Like you say, with people like Sven-Ole Thorsen in there, they've put him against people which they do quite a lot, I guess, in this run of films. Is put him against people that are of a similar build, so it doesn't look like it's a foregone conclusion.
Yes, and there's a bit where there's 3 men following into the alley, and 2 of them are quite big, and one of them's like this weedy little guy, and I thought, he's never going to do well against Arnie. Have you seen the size of him? But there's a brilliant bit about that scene when they chase him and fight in the alley, and do you know what it is?
No, go on.
It's one of my favourite things ever in an Arnie film. It's the sound effect. It's that proper... I've talked about this before. There's a punch sound effect that they use in certain Arnie films.
Yeah.
They loop a lot, and they use it really well. And most of the time you think, when someone gets punched, there's no way to make that sound. If Arnie actually punched someone really hard when he was that young, it would have made a hell of a noise. And this is that brilliant. It's like, that creaky door that you get in.
Yeah. I know the door. I know that door well.
It's the same one that's been used for like 40 years because it's the perfect one. This is the perfect punch sound that Arnie has.
Oh, wow.
Punch sound effect. If you see anything, if you just watch that clip somewhere online, you know exactly what I mean. But that's the only thing that sells me about that fight. They were never going to win. Come on. He's too cocky as well in this film.
He is very cocky. And I think, I've never been undercover.
Yeah.
Never been asked, actually.
Never been police. Never been a spy. Or in the FBI. But besides all that, what the Romans ever done for us?
My bucket list is getting shorter.
Yeah.
If I was undercover, I'm not convinced I would have driven a breakdown truck into a kind of a casino-y place. I mean, I guess at the time I was like, what the hell is he doing? But I think part of it is he needs to make a big show. It's almost like the James Bond thing, isn't it? Yeah. James Bond historically will just kind of, hide in plain sight by just going in there and showing who he is. But I guess here he's got to ruffle enough feathers that he gets brought into the fold very quickly. And I guess the way to do that is to drive a breakdown truck into the side of a casino.
Yeah, and destroy the whole place.
Yeah.
There's that very strange scene in the gay bar that was... it was good in some ways because when it first started, I thought, oh, here we go. Being a film in the 80s, you're going to have two things that they always do. You're going to have the kind of boob shot for no particular reason when they break through a wall, or there's just a boob shot of women that they always do that. And
that does happen. However, they do break through a wall and people are having sex.
Yeah.
They go to
that, or there'll be some kind of not necessarily homophobic, but something off color.
There'll be some something either.
So a plus for this film is the female characters. Well, Monique gets stuff to do, as we said. The wife doesn't because she's only in one scene. And the Monique character's actually quite interesting and layered, I think. But they don't do a random boob shop for any particular reason. And when they go into the gay bar, and they don't kind of make any jokes at all at the expense of the people, which I was surprised at. I thought
for 1986, you think of like kind of Eddie Murphy stuff at the time.
Yep.
And it would have been like even just making fun of someone being camp or imitating them, or
exactly
someone trying to get in the wrong end of the stick. No, I don't. Certainly good for 1986. I think it's impressive stuff.
I mean, it isn't a perfect film at all, but those two things were sort of I made a note of, and I made some notes after I finished watching it.
Yeah, the pace of the film is interesting because I kept thinking it's relentless, but then it's not. It's not that relentless in terms of like constant action.
Yeah.
But you're constantly changing locations, and the scenes are there's a quite quick move between scenes for this type of film, I think.
Because Max, as we said, played by Robert Davi, doesn't trust him from the start. Nobody kind of trusts him. They've got him on probation, but they're trying to find out who he really is, and Max does his own digging. So there's lots of jumping, so it's not always just from Arnie's point of view. So you get other things. You get stuff with Monique, you get stuff with Petrovita, we should say, who's kind of the big boss. You get stuff with Rocker. But as I know what you mean, it feels like it jumps around a lot.
But the other thing I thought, because is how involved he gets, and this happens a lot, I think, very much particularly in the 80s films, when someone's undercover. I guess in order to sell your cover, you have to be committed to it. But he suggests some things that they end up carrying out, and you just think, well, hang on, if you suggested that, being a naughty boy. He talks about like the bomb threat call to be able to get into the police station, because there's part of the story is they need to get their money that the police have seized back.
And the drugs, Petrovita wants his money and drugs back before it kind of goes to this lockup or something. And they're trying to work out how to break into the police station, and Arnie gives them the idea. But he does have a call with Harry earlier and says that when they fought those three guys in the alleyway, a cop came in and ID'd him. And he said, that got me thinking, what do I do when I come up against a cop? I can't shoot a cop. What do I do? Let me know. So he just kind of mentioned that early on. Yeah. And when they go to the gay bar, it looks like Max is going to kill the guy or stab him, but instead Arnie steps in front of him and just kind of runs him down. Yeah, and pours blood on him. Paint on him and says, "This is what you look like in the mirror if you don't pay up."
And that conversation, I think, with talking about what do I do if I come up against a cop, plays out later as well in an important scene.
Yeah.
At the funeral.
It's true. Yes, that was a bit of a surprise. Did you see that coming, or had you remembered it?
No. I was like, oh, and that did. That was a surprise.
And you're like, oh, it's Harry. Ah.
I thought it was good that he didn't sleep with her, because he had the opportunity and he sort of fell asleep, and I thought, is he kind of pretending there? And then he literally goes, I think we should just be friends. And so it's quite, again, in the time that this was made.
Yes.
Usually he'd be like, I've left my wife to go undercover and I'm a misogynist, and actually I will sleep with someone because I might as well. It'll be more convincing, but actually that could have blown his cover in a way. But so that was quite refreshing too.
There's a fluff in that scene. Well, there's something that happens in that scene that I don't know if it's a fluff or not.
Okay.
So in that scene, Monique's kind of trying to seduce him and get information on him. So they drink loads of champagne, and then she says, "Oh, let's go to the bedroom." And he sits down on the edge of the bed, and she undoes his shirt, and he falls backwards. And if you watch that, he smacks his head off something. And I didn't realise until I watched this. I've seen this film probably 10 times, but I haven't seen it in years. So I was watching for things that I didn't remember. He falls back and he bangs his head off the side before he lands on the bed. And I think that was a fluff. I think he was supposed to fall backwards, but Arnie doesn't react. That's the thing.
No.
He doesn't go, oh no, or react at all. He just smacks his head off it and then flumps down. And I was like, oh, I wonder if they just said, yeah, we'll just carry on shooting, and he just kept going.
Maybe.
It's funny the things you notice next time around. Yeah, they drank 3 bottles of champagne as well. Apparently, she can put it away, but now they can. He can, true, given that he was bluffing, but
yeah.
Don't make champagne that they used to in the 80s.
They don't.
Clearly,
This is true. There's a lot of the kind of I think where this happens a lot in these films. Again, I'm thinking of which is it? There's another Seagal film actually from the 90s where they just turn up and start stupid. There's an awful lot of people being shot in broad daylight.
Oh yes.
And a lot of kind of car chases. There's a really good car chase actually, when they're going after the other mob boss.
Yeah.
To take him out.
Yes, there's a lot of kind of shooting. But there's that thing where Max is driving, he's shooting right past his face. I'm like, hang on, there's no way you're going to hit anybody. Plus, you probably deafened and blinded Max. But I
think this is why they they all drive automatics. So it's easy to shoot at the same time.
It's true. Built for convenience and also for trying to shoot someone. Exactly. What else you want for the every criminal? Yeah. A criminal enterprise. Yeah. So what did you think of the big kind of set piece at the gravel pit? And the setup before that reminded me massively of Commando.
Yes, me too, because he does although slightly more camp.
Yeah.
I think
it was kitting up, but it wasn't strapping
it was slightly more narcissistic, I think, in a way. So the bit we alluded to a minute ago was so they turn up at a funeral. And they're all kind of gunned, and it's like, they're going to take someone out. And it's like, don't worry about it, it's just a cop. And you think, well, actually, he said before he wouldn't shoot a cop. Yeah. And then he doesn't shoot, but they do. But then when the person turns and falls to the ground, you realise it's Harry. Mm-hmm. And then his cover's blown, and then it becomes the Punisher, more or less, after that. But he gives Monique a way out, gives her a way to leave. But he does. It's more, I think, is it in a hotel room that he gets ready, or his house?
It's his apartment.
Yeah, and it's very similar to Commando. He's putting all the weapons and everything together, but then he just very slowly puts on a very 80s leather jacket.
Very kind of Terminator leather jacket, white vest.
But a bit more, I don't know, it's a bit more shoulder paddy. It feels a bit more super 80s. But then he just turns really slowly and looks in the mirror like he's in a Duran Duran video. Yeah. And then just kind of holds his gaze at himself. Yeah. For like a beat too long. And then he goes. But it's Arnie. He can do that.
But the thing is, after all of that, right, and he's got all these weapons in this kind of suit carrier thing and a bag, he loses all of them except for one. Because they're all in the car with him. That is true. Which is, but the best bit, he gets in the car and after kicking out the windscreen, he shoots the windscreen, kicks it out so he can shoot through. He then puts a tape into the tape deck of the car.
Yes, and he puts on
Rolling Stones.
I Can't Get No Satisfaction. And earlier in the gay bar scene, you had Trapped by Colonel Abraham. So maybe that's telling us something about his character.
Subtle hint.
Yeah. But it's like they're two big songs. They can't have been cheap to stick those in there. As I put here, I think I saw a young Sven Ole Thorsen. So the fact you knew it was him, I think puts you in the lead.
Well, he's in the fight at the end.
He is in the fight. I think in a waistcoat
and beard, you can see his big beard. He doesn't last very long, but yes, I thought that the kind of big set piece at the gravel pit was quite fun.
Yeah, no, he's just I don't know. I'm not sure what his accountability's like. I'm not sure what paperwork he has to fill out, but he kills an awful lot of people.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as Commando, where he clocks on like 3 figures. Here he kills probably about 20 people at the gravel pit.
It really reminded me of the last episode of the Punisher Netflix show. Right. There was just something about this whole, well, more I guess the bit after this actually, but his final kind of bits felt a little bit like that to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I like the fact that they stop him quite quickly with the digger, which I'd forgotten as well. Yeah, I thought he was going to kill everybody and leave, but they hit him with the digger, and then he can't shoot them. They're going to try and squash him between the two, and then he jumps out with his one gun. So all his other guns are gone now and been crushed in his car. So
he shoots a lot of people in the back.
Yes. Yes.
Which, you know...
Well, they're not.
But I guess
they're not nice guys, Pete.
No, I guess I know, but it's honour in these things. I mean, I've never shot a man in the back. But if I did, I would shoot him in the front.
Bucket list. But if I had,
I would make him turn around first. But I guess as well, it is personal, which I think is where that scene you said before comes into play, because he knew Harry, he knew Harry's son. Mm-hmm. I guess it's the guy in a way that he got kicked out of the FBI for basically roughing up somebody who'd been.
Molesting a child,
molesting an 11-year-old or something like that. So that he's obviously got his own code, and this is like, actually, do you know what all these people have done? And essentially he's killed his kind of best friend, father figure, kind of thing. So it is pure. This is in kind of not quite Deathwish territory, but it is kind of I'm going to be the only person leaving here. Yeah,
he kills everybody at the gravel pit.
Yeah.
And then he goes into the building at the end, and it's full of money and drugs and. I can't remember. Does he blow it up?
I can't.
Or does he? Given that we've just watched this, I can't actually remember.
I know. I can't either.
I don't know. Anyway,
but again, part of the kind of talk about the editing, it just kind of cuts out of there really quickly. He's kind of there. He's done, and then actually he's made sure Monique got to the plane. Oh, and then it's 3 months later. It does end quite abruptly, and again, it's quite exposition heavy because he just kind of tells you what's happened in the last 3 months.
But you missed the fight at the club as well.
Oh yes, of course. Which is where I saw
because he goes from the gravel pit to the club, and they're saying, "Oh, I don't know where he is. What's happened to him? I can't get hold of so and so." And he goes, "I think he's dead." You think, and then he turns up, and he turns up on the cameras, doesn't he?
Yeah, of course, because they've all said there's no way he could have survived it. They're looking at the CCTV of him with the digger, and then he's suddenly on the camera, which is all a bit more Terminator-esque then when he's kind of just there with his gun.
Yeah, and we find out who the leak was as well, because there was a leak which is why Harry did this job off the books and stuff.
Yeah, the leak was the guy from Street Photography.
He's called Stephen Hill, is the actor's name, as Martin Lemansky. But there you go. But yes, he comes into the bar and shoots and kills everybody. When he kills Patravita, which is quite a weird thing, he shoots him and he's kind of prostrate over this table, and he picks up a bowl of candy and just pours it over his body, which is a bit strange. But then it hangs for a beat too long on his dead face.
If you think about it, someone in this film was like, do you know what we should do? We should throw a cake at a wall. We should throw some sandwiches into a water fountain.
Yeah.
And we should cover someone in candy.
Yeah.
It's like yes. Maybe that's the raw deal is that it's all raw produce. That's what it is.
Healthy, organic, raw produce grown from locally sourced.
This is an artisan feature film. Where you get served a squirrel on a chopping board.
Yeah. I hate when you do that when you go to a pub and give you a block of wood.
Thanks very much. I can't actually eat this, but it's lovely.
Like, well, I can shoot it across the table. I can't put any kind of sauce on. You're never going to be able to clean this very well. Can you take this back and bring it back on a plate that's actually hygienic, please? That's why we have these things. Technology's moved on from a bit of wood. No. I don't care how arty or funky or fashionable or something you think it might be. I want a bloody plate. Thanks.
You're listening to Grouchy Old Geeks.
Could be. You could be. But I just...
Yeah, I know.
Slight aside, but someone had mentioned this great pub and they went to and they said, "Oh, this, that, and the other, great burgers," and they showed a picture and I said, "But it's on a block of wood." And they'd CC'd the restaurant in and they said, "We are able to provide it on a plate, sir, if you want." The joy of Twitter.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I ever came there, I'd probably get my food spat in. But...
It'd be you and two people in their late 70s that have come for the senior citizen special that have asked for a plate as well.
I'm all right with that. I'm okay. I'm all right with being the awkward one.
I don't think Arnie would eat his steak off a chopping board. I think he'd eat it off a solid plate while smoking a cigar.
Yeah. He nearly eats in this film at one point. Him and Monique sit down for a meal. But apart from that, I don't think we actually see him eat. There's lots of drinking, lots of smoking. Quite a few other people are smoking. Him with the cigars.
It's not a very healthy film, the more we talk about it.
No, drugs, shooting, guns, prostitution.
Shit cake.
Shit cake, yeah, shit cake. Dukes of Hazzard, like funky music. Yeah, Yeah. But at least it didn't have, wooden boards, food served on plates.
This is true. This is true. Oh, of all the things I expect us to be talking about, that was not one of them.
That's okay. Okay. Do you want to talk about the very, very last scene, the 3 months later bit, which there again was a strange end cap to the film.
It feels like it was added on to me.
Yeah.
I don't know why I sang that to you. Sorry.
I was going to move past it. But there again, I got quite upset with Harry, his character, because I believe him talking about the fact that his son's gone and he doesn't want to live anymore and he just wants to sit there and then when Arnie's trying to make him walk and he said, well, meet me halfway, and you go, great, I'll be Godfather, yes, great, whatever, great, fine, that's fine. But I was getting emotional at that. The rest of the film was just like, whatever. Yeah. But he's such a good actor that I believe him. He
is the heart of the film by some stretch, really.
Yeah. The rest of it,
and it does show, show their relationship well.
Yeah.
And it's this way he goes, I'm back in the FBI. What's it like being back in the FBI? It's great. How's your wife? She's fab. Credits.
But it has that kind of weird moment where if it was another film, it would have ended on the freeze frame of Arnie like blowing someone up and the last
That is true. That is true.
Dead.
It'd be like Stone Cold where he walks out at the end and just sort of looks into camera.
You get two. You get him seeing Monique off on the plane, and then the cop choppers in and says, "Oh, I thought you would have run." He goes, "No, I'm too tired." And he goes, "I always knew you were one of us." And it's like,
I could tell.
Yeah, so Baker worked it out.
It was the East European accent.
But I like that bit where Baker's there's little dead bodies everywhere, and he goes, "What happened here? Looks like someone got really pissed off." Because who did it?
That is a great line.
I think I've got an idea of who did it. It's like, he knows. He knows.
I like there's one bit as well because in early Arnie films and early Van Damme films, at some point it's a bit like when some films have to say the title.
Yeah.
At some point, someone has to say, "Where are you from?"
Yeah.
And someone says to him, "Where are you?" He hears his voice and goes, "Where are you from?" And he goes, I think it's just like the FBI, or he says the place in America that he's from, which I thought was great. He didn't come up with some kind of convoluted story about his. Yeah.
That's Christopher Lambert, for those who are paying attention. Previous episode. Highlander.
Christopher Lambert.
We're going to get him on the show. We're going to ask him to pronounce his own name.
Yes.
We will, somehow. Someone goes to
okay, so, right, hang on. No, okay, so. Let's say that I speak to his manager, right? And he agrees to meet the two of us to go for a meal. And in that meal, he would exclusively reveal on a live show whether his name is Christopher Lambert, who I assume is from Croydon, or Christophe Lambert, who is French. But the only way we get to do that is if we sit and eat with him food on wooden boards. Would you come?
Oh, God. As long as it's not soup or something. If it's something like a sandwich, you can have a sandwich on a board.
When I was a child, we used to go to this place and always have chicken in a basket, which I absolutely loved. Mm-hmm. And one year my dad ordered the soup in a basket and I cried my eyes out because I assumed it was I didn't realise there's the basket with the holes in it, and then there's another thing in it, a liner. I just assumed it was a basket with holes in it, and they were going to pour soup in it. It was going to go everywhere. I was about 7 or 8, and I cried my eyes out until I saw it come out and went, "Oh, there's another pull."
Oh, that's okay.
Anyway, so
okay, in that scenario that you presented, yes, I would go. However, here's a call out to all our listeners: if you ever go to a convention, like some kind of exhibition thing or autograph signing thing or whatever it might be, and somehow Christopher Lambert is there, go and find him, go and speak to him and ask him to pronounce his name. Or when they introduce him on stage for a talk or something, someone must have obviously spoken to him first and asked him how to pronounce his name. Go and find it, record it, and then send it to us. Or just go and speak to him somewhere and then tell us. So that's any listener anywhere in the world that's going to any kind of these shows that he turns up for. Or if it's like a Highlander celebration or something.
He was at the Film and Comic Con in Birmingham in June.
Oh, I could have gone.
You could have a photo with him and the Highlander sword for 40 quid against green screen.
You are kidding.
No, it's true. Him, Danny Glover were both there.
I knew Danny Glover was there because someone did some cracking photos I saw on Facebook. Slight tangent again, but who gives a shit? There's a guy, he did some brilliant pictures. He had a picture with Danny Glover, and the lad was holding up a sign that just says, "I'm too old for this shit." He had a picture with Adrian Edmondson, like from something out of Bottom. So he was pretending to be Richie, and Adrian Edmondson was smacking around the head with a cricket bat, pulling her face. It was brilliant. He did like 3 or 4 of these, and they were all so on point that, yeah, I wonder what he'd done for the Highlander.
And Heather was there from Highlander.
Oh.
I love you, Heather. Yeah, so for £60, you could have had a photo with the two of them.
Oh.
Now, if Clancy Brown was there as well, then
you would have been.
That'd have been in it. Highlander heaven.
I wonder if they're going to do a celebration, or like when they do the remake, because they're going to remake it. They make every fucking thing these days.
They have talked about it, haven't they?
I wonder if he'll be in it at some point.
Maybe.
See if we can go to the premiere and just get someone to ask his name
and ask him.
Anyway,
brilliant. Sorry, I put into Google his name, and the first question that comes up is Christophe Lambert blind?
Blind?
That's because
Why
he's
would he be blind.
Oh, he does have myopia.
And he
cannot.
Potato.
He cannot wear contact lenses.
Okay.
He is forced to act while virtually blind, according to his Wikipedia. I blame Scott Grandison. What's happened here?
What? Scott's been working on his wiki page.
Yeah. He cannot wear contact lenses and is forced to act while virtually blind. This has led to injuries while performing his own stunts without glasses. Well, Christophe, put your glasses on, mate. Yes. That's what happened. Someone was going, Christopher, your glasses. And he's like, I do not answer to that name.
Let it go, Pete. We're going to find out. We're going to find out somehow, somewhere. We'll find out. Anyway, back to Raw Deal. Yes, so the last scene I think was quite emotional, was quite good, even though it felt like it was tacked on. It was a bit of a weird film.
Shut up, you idiots! It's time to give a score. Do it now.
All right, let's do some scores because I'm sure you've got more to say. I'll let you go first because this is your first.
You're very kind.
I am. I'm very kind. Probably your first real viewing of it, I think.
Certainly the first one that I can remember. So this was okay. I didn't think it was great. Okay. I think when you kind of list off, like I said before, like what films he'd done just before and just after, I think it sits a wee way behind the others. I think that's because it's not Arnie enough in a way. And I think if it was completely straight and he was playing it completely straight, that would have been quite novel and quite different. Or if it had been a typical kind of Arnie kind of one-liner fest, it would have been interesting. But because it's a little bit of one, a little bit of the other, I never quite knew what I was watching. So I'm going to give it 2 bags.
Oh, burn. Ouch.
So, yeah.
Okay, all right.
If you believe I've given it a raw deal, I apologize.
Oh, you said it. You had to get it in somewhere. No, we've got to stop doing that. Oh, anyway. I've forgotten bits of this film. There's little details that I picked out, given that I wasn't really paying attention to the actual story because I knew the story. Hence the thing of like Arnie bumping his head and things I noticed. It was all right. It wasn't as great as I remembered, to be fair. There are a lot better ones from a similar period, whether it's Predator or even to some degrees Commando, I think in some ways. I know it's cheesier, but this was a bit more of a mixed bag. Some good actors in it that I think brought it up because Arnie was still in his early phase. As we said, he was quite wooden, but he kind of got better as time went on. So I'm going to give it a 3 bags. I think that's fair. A 3-bagger. But it's probably not one I'll rush back to watch again. But just quick, that's totally random aside. I've just been looking at the Wikipedia page for Christopher Lambert. He was in Hail Caesar in 2016. I didn't know that.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
No, I haven't. The Coen film. I have to go and watch that now.
Yeah.
Loads of big people in. And then it's like this one. Oh, yeah, and also Christopher Lambert. Hello? He should be at the front. Wankers. Anyway. Okay, then. Well, this was a bit of a rambly episode, but that's fine. That's okay. That's what we're here for.
We're out of practice.
Well, it was fun. It was fun to do. So have you seen Raw Deal? What did you think? Is it a favourite? Is it the best film ever in the world ever? And your favourite Arnie film?
Have I been harsh?
Has Pete been harsh, giving it only 2 bags? Have I been overly generous? Giving it 3. It's not much of a margin of error.
As we do no half bags, you're really kind of stuck, aren't you?
Can't do it. Can't do it. It doesn't exist. No half bag. It's either full or it's not.
Yeah.
It's like the cat in the box. He's either in the box or he's not. There's none of this, you know.
No Schrodinger's bags.
Exactly.
Yes.
Whatever that means. So, that's it for this episode. If you want to get in touch with us, come onto the Facebook group, follow us on Twitter, email us, bagsofaction@gmail.com. And that's about it.
Yes.
Pete, do you want to wrap us up?
Again, I've just gone to say it and then forgotten. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are.
Good night.
I wouldn't blame you if you're not.
Why?
Because I've talked rubbish.
You have been listening to Bags of Action. You better stick around for the next episode, because if you're lying, I'll be back.